A young girl named Zuri sat in the back seat of a car, looking out the window. Her eyes were tired and her heart was heavy. She had just lost the only person who ever truly cared for her, her father. The car stopped in front of a big house with white walls and tall gates. A woman opened the front door and stepped out. She had a smile on her face, but her eyes were cold. Her name was Mama Benna. She had once promised Zuri's father that she would take care of Zuri like her own child. "Come out," she said. Zuri stepped out of the car and looked at the house. It didn't feel like home. It felt like something was wrong, but she couldn't tell what. Inside the house, two girls sat on the couch. One was Nia, who looked about Zuri's age. The other was her younger sister, Ayo. They looked at Zuri like she was a stranger. "She's your new sister," Mama Abena said. "Treat her well." Zuri tried to smile, but Nia turned away, and Ayo just stared. Days passed, and Zuri tried to fit in. She cleaned, helped with cooking, and did everything she was asked. But Mama Abena was never kind. She always found fault with Zuri's work. "Didn't I tell you to wash the plates better?" she snapped one day. "Are you trying to break my dishes?" "I'm sorry," Zuri said quietly. Nia and Ayo watched from the hallway, whispering to each other and laughing. They never helped. They never spoke kindly. Zuri slept in the small storeroom near the kitchen while the others slept in soft beds. One evening, Zuri sat outside, looking up at the stars. She missed her father's voice, his warm hugs, his kind words. She felt like a shadow in a house that was supposed to be her home. The next morning, Mama Abena came into the kitchen. "My friend is coming to visit," she said. "Clean this place well. I don't want her to see dirt." Zuri nodded and started scrubbing the floor. Later that day, a man walked into the house. He wore shiny shoes and smiled too much. His name was Jabari. He looked Zuri up and down. "This is the girl?" he asked. Mama Abena smiled. "Yes, she's the one." Zuri stood still. She didn't understand what they meant. But something about the way Jabari looked at her made her uneasy. That night, Zuri sat on her small bed, staring at the ceiling. She had a strange feeling in her chest, like something bad was coming. She didn't know what, but she knew this house wasn't safe. Every day felt the same. Cold looks, endless chores, and whispered conversations she was never part of. But lately, the whispers had grown louder. Whenever she passed by the sitting room, she would hear Mama Abena speaking in low tones with Nia. Sometimes Ayo joined them, and they would all go quiet the moment Zuri came close. One evening, Zuri walked past the hallway and heard Mama Abena's voice. "By the time she finds out, it will be too late," she said with a short laugh. Zuri paused. "Find out what?" she wondered. Her heart began to race, but she quickly moved on before they saw her. Later that week, Mama Abena called Zuri into the living room. The air felt heavy, like something big was about to happen. Zuri sat down slowly. Across from her sat Jabari, the same man who had visited earlier. He wore a clean white shirt and had a wide smile on his face. "Zuri," Mama Abena said, "Jabari is ready to marry you." Zuri's heart dropped. "Marry?" she said softly. "But I never agreed to this." Mama Abena's face turned cold. "You should be thankful. Jabari is a good man." Jabari leaned forward. "I will take care of you. You won't need anything." Zuri shook her head. Nia, standing near the doorway, laughed. "Like you have a choice." Mama Abena's eyes narrowed. "If you don't agree to this marriage, you can leave my house today and don't expect to take anything with you." Zuri's chest felt tight. Her hands shook in her lap. Where would she go? She had no one, no money, no place to sleep. Jabari crossed his arms. "So, what's your answer?" Zuri looked at the floor. Her voice barely came out. "Yes." Jabari smiled wide. Mama Abena clapped her hands in joy. Nia and Ayo giggled in the corner. That night, Zuri lay awake on her thin mattress. Her mind kept spinning. What just happened? She was about to marry a man she didn't love, someone she barely knew. She felt like a bird trapped in a cage with no way out. The next morning, Zuri found the courage to speak. "Please, Mama," she said, her voice trembling. "I can't marry Jabari. I'm not ready." Mama Abena's smile vanished. "I thought we already settled this. If you don't marry him, you leave today. No food, no clothes, no help." Naya stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Go ahead, Zuri. Let's see how far you'll get." Zuri turned to Ayo. "Please." Ayo just looked away. "You're lucky he even wants you." Mama Abena stepped closer. "So, Zuri, what's it going to be?" Zuri looked around the room. It wasn't home, but outside was nothing. Her voice came out like a whisper. "I'll marry him." The day of the marriage came quietly. There was no celebration, no singing, and no dancing in the village of Nyanda, just silence. Zuri followed Jabari down a dusty road, her eyes heavy, her heart even heavier. They stopped in front of a small, broken-down house. The walls had deep cracks, the door was half hanging off its frame, the roof looked like it might fall with the next heavy rain. "This is where we'll live?" Zuri asked softly. Jabari dropped his bag on the ground and shrugged. "What did you expect? A palace?" Zuri didn't answer. Her throat was too dry. Inside, the house was even worse. The air smelled old and wet. There was no running water. The kitchen had one pot, no gas, no stove, just a corner with ashes and stones. A thin mattress lay on the floor. That was the bed. Jabari looked around. "You better get used to it and start cooking. I don't like lazy wives." Zuri's stomach turned. She felt sick, but she stayed quiet. That night, she lay on the mattress, staring at the ceiling. Tears ran down her face, but she made no sound. She'd gone from one prison to another. Maybe this one was worse. The next afternoon, the sun burned hot in the sky. Zuri sat outside on a small stool, washing clothes in a rusted basin. Her back ached, her hands were raw. Sweat dripped from her forehead. Just as she finished, she heard laughter. "So this is where you live now?" Nia's voice rang out like a sharp bell. Zuri looked up. Nia and Io stood near the entrance, their arms folded, their eyes full of cruel amusement. Nia covered her nose. "Ah! What is this smell, Io? Can you breathe?" Io laughed. "I can't. I feel like I'll faint. How does she live here?" Zuri said nothing. Her hands clenched, her jaw tightened. Nia walked closer. "From our nice house to this rat hole. I told you, Zuri. You were never one of us." Io nodded. "We just came to see how our dear sister is enjoying her new life. And from the looks of it," she glanced at the cracked walls and the broken door, "it's even worse than we imagined." Zuri looked at them. "Why are you here?" Nia smiled. "To remind you of what you lost, and to tell you that Mama is doing just fine without you." Io stepped forward. "You should have stayed quiet and obeyed. Maybe you would still be in that house instead of this dump." Zuri took a deep breath. "Laugh if you want. I may be struggling, but at least I'm free." Nia burst out laughing. "Free? Look at you, washing clothes like a maid. What kind of freedom is this?" They laughed again, their laughter echoing down the path as they turned and walked away. Zuri sat still. One tear rolled down her cheek, but she wiped it quickly. She wouldn't break. Not now. Not in front of them. Somehow she would survive. Somehow she would find her way out. The house was falling apart, and Jabari didn't care. He left early every day and came back late, always smelling of expensive Puma and clean new clothes. Zuri began to wonder, if we have no money, where is he getting all this from? One evening, as she was sweeping the tiny sitting room, something fell from Jabari's jacket. It was a folded piece of paper. She picked it up and opened it. Her eyes widened. It was a bank statement. The balance was more money than she had ever seen. Her hands began to shake. Just then, Jabari walked in. He saw the paper and rushed to grab it from her hand. "What are you doing?" he asked sharply. Zuri stepped back. "You said we had no money, but this says you're rich!" Jabari's face turned cold. "Mind your business, Zuri. You don't need to know anything." Zuri stared at him. "You've been lying. You're not poor." Jabari laughed. "And what will you do about it?" Zuri stood still. Her heart pounded. She didn't know who he really was. She didn't even know if he was safe. That night she couldn't sleep. The air felt too heavy. The silence was too loud. She sat up on the mattress and listened. Jabari was outside, speaking on the phone in a low voice. She crept to the window and pressed her ear against the wall. "She thinks I'm just a poor man," Jabari said. "She has no idea who I really am. When the time is right, I'll tell her everything. She'll regret ever questioning me." Zuri's hands went cold. Her chest tightened. Who was this man? What game was he playing? The next morning she stood in front of him. "Jabari," she said, trying to keep her voice calm. "Who are you? Tell me the truth." Jabari gave her a slow smile. "I'm a businessman, a rich one. I only acted poor to test your loyalty." Zuri's heart dropped. Everything had been fake. The struggle, the house, the marriage. She looked around. The broken walls, the leaking roof, the empty shelves. A lie. Jabari laughed. "We'll move to my real house. You'll see what a true wife's life is like." Zuri couldn't speak. She felt like she had fallen into a deeper trap. Not one made of poverty, but of control. Later that day, Jabari packed his sleek black car. Zuri sat beside him, silent, her fingers trembling. They drove back to Zuberi's home, the place that had rejected her. Zuri hadn't seen it in months, but this time she wasn't coming back as a lost girl. This time she came back with power, with her. The black cart stopped in front of Mama Abena's house. Zuri sat quietly, staring at the same door where she had once stood with tears in her eyes. That day felt like a lifetime ago. Jabari stepped out first. He wore a clean white shirt and dark sunglasses. He walked with calm power. Zuri followed, her heart beating fast, but her face calm like the wind before a storm. Mama Abena opened the door. Her eyes widened when she saw them. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply. Before anyone could answer, Io and Nia stepped into view behind her. Io raised an eyebrow and crossed her arms. "Oh, so you came back," Io said with a smirk. "Don't tell me you're here to beg." Jabari smiled politely. "Not at all. We came to share something important." Mama Abena folded her arms. "What could you possibly have to share with us?" Jabari reached into his pocket, and then Jabari took out a thick brown envelope and dropped it on the table inside the doorway. 1,000,000 naro, he said. "This is Zuri's bride price. Keep it, so none of you will ever show up begging at our door." Mama Abena's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Her eyes grew wide at the sight of all the cash. Io and Nia gasped. "You're giving her all this?" Nia asked. "Yes," Jabari said. "We're done here. Zuri doesn't belong to this house anymore." Mama Abena clutched the envelope like it was the last piece of hope she had. "Zuri, please," she said softly. "You can come back. We can fix this. We are still family." Zuri looked at her, the woman who once called her daughter. "I already have a family," Zuri said gently. She turned and walked away. Jabari followed, and they got into the car. As the engine started, Zuri looked back one last time. The house looked smaller now, and darker. Like a memory she no longer needed. She didn't cry, she didn't feel sad. She felt light. She felt free. The sun had not even set when trouble returned to Mama Abena's house. The silence that followed Zuri's visit did not last long. Io slammed her bedroom door and stormed into the living room. "This is your fault," she shouted, pointing at Nia. "You and your big mouth. You laughed at her. You mocked her. Now look where we are." Nia stood up fast, eyes burning. "Me? What about you? You were worse than me, always saying she didn't belong. Don't blame me for your jealousy." Io grabbed a glass of water from the table and threw it hard at the floor. It shattered. "I should have been the one Jabari married," she screamed. "He liked me first before she came." Nia laughed coldly. "Keep dreaming, Io. Jabari never wanted you. You were just a joke to him." "Enough!" Mama Abena snapped. She sat in the corner, her head resting in her hands. "Stop this foolish fighting. We need to think." The girls went quiet for a moment. "What is there to think about?" Nia said bitterly. "Zuri is gone. She has money now, and she's never coming back." Io sat down, her eyes full of anger and pain. "She was our chance. We had everything. Now we have nothing." Mama Abena slowly stood up. Her voice was low but sharp. "The money Jabari gave us? It's the last we have. If we waste it, we will starve. No one is going to help us. Not after what we did to Zuri." For the first time, they all truly felt it. The house was cold. Empty. The once loud home full of gossip and laughter now echoed with regret. Mama Abena walked to the small wooden table where the brown envelope sat. She touched it with a shaking hand. "Do you think she'll forgive us if we go to her?" she asked quietly. Nia rolled her eyes. "You saw her face. She's not coming back." Mama Abena looked out the window. The sky was dark now. The wind blew lightly through the trees outside. The three of them sat there in silence. No one spoke. No one moved. For the first time, they realized they had lost a person who once wanted to love them, a girl they could have called family. Now that girl was gone. Weeks passed. Zuri walked through the wide halls of her home. She had gone from nothing to everything, not because of luck, but because she refused to break.